Hello, this is Angela Johnson Ayers here with Confessions of Mommy and Life Cannot Wait. Just took the children to school as usual. And I was just thinking about so much that's going on as far as with sexual harassment and allegations of sexual harassment. And I was listening on the radio to the Tom Joyner morning show, and one of the anchors, Sybil, was explaining about, sexual harassment, and my daughters were in the back listening. And so when before they got out of the car, they asked, of course, especially the 9-year-old was asking questions. And parents, we live in a day and time where we can't lie to our kids. We can't, even though I joke, especially in my book, Laughter Pills for Moms, I joke about how, I lie to my children. But when it comes to stuff like this and life and death situations that they need to be aware of, we have to know how to explain it to them, age appropriately, of course. What I told my 5 and 9-year-old clearly was not as graphic as what I would and will probably tell them when they become teenagers. Although, at the end of the day, guys, you still have to keep it real with them. But in explaining sexual harassment, and since all this has been going on, I have been thinking my own self about times where, I have experienced it. And I think it is a scale. It should be there are degrees, I guess, of sexual harassment. Have I actually been sexually assaulted to the point of raped? No. But I have been touched in a way. I'll never forget, this is when I was single. And I had just met this guy. And I did a no-no. I went over to his house. And because I didn't know him very well at all. And I went over to his house. And we were in one of his rooms. He had a beautiful big house. And we were in one of his rooms. It was in his office. And I was sitting in his office chair at his computer. So the way the room was set up, my back, the office chair, my back was facing the door where you enter and exit the room. So, I was on the computer, just doing things on the computer. I don't know if I was playing a game or whatever. I don't even remember because it's been so long ago. But what I do remember is that this man, we were talking, and then he entered the room again, and he came behind me, and he put his arms around me, like holding me down in the chair, in the office chair that I was sitting in. And I was like, get off me. And it wasn't a gentle touch, or it was like holding me down. And I felt uncomfortable. And I said, hey, get off me. And he kept holding me down. And then he turned the chair around as if he were trying to, I don't know, kiss me or touch me. And that's when I pushed him off, and I just ran out of his house. I jumped into my car, and that was it. And I thought about that, and at the time, and this man worked, and I'm not going to name where he works, but he worked for a very well-known agency in Washington, D.C. And now that I'm older, almost probably 20 years later, I should have reported him. I should have reported that. But I didn't even think about it, at the time. I don't know if it's because at that time, sexual harassment if I didn't understand the definition, if I just figured sexual harassment was only if we were raped. I don't know where my mindset was, but it makes me think now of the many times in history that women have been not just sexually harassed, but raped. And of course, me being an African American woman, I have to take it back even to the plantation. I have to take it back to slavery, where we know countless times that the slave women were raped, many times in front of their children, in front of their mates. And what a shame it is that they didn't have a voice, that they were seen as invisible. I mean, the atrocities that those African women had to endure at the hands of greedy, lustful slave owners. And it just made me think, and not just slave owners, because again, you have to remember Slaves were seen as property. So anytime anybody had an inkling or desire that they wanted one of those slave women, they felt like they were entitled and had the right to do it. And that's sad, you know, but it made me think about it. And so in explaining to my children about this, it made me think back to, wow, as mothers, we have an obligation to our children, male and female, because it's not just females who are sexually harassed. We have to tell our children this is what sexual harassment is. If someone says something in a way, if they touch you in a way, but you have to explain it, because I told my girls, look, it's okay if someone says, I like your shoes, your dress is beautiful, you understand? But when you get that creepy feeling, and it's so important to teach our children to listen to that inner voice. If you feel that something's off, it's off 9 out of 10 times. And I just look back now at the times in my own life where, I guess due to my own ignorance, that I unfortunately should have used the voice, and I never did. I think back when I had worked at certain, I was temping, and I was placed in different, I'm trying to choose my words carefully to avoid a lawsuit. But I was working for different agencies, and some of the workers, the males, would say things, you know. And again, as I look back, I'm like, wow, that was totally inappropriate. No, he didn't put his hands on me. No, he didn't, not always. But no, the person may not have had a button where they could lock the door. But yet and still, the things they would say, the sexual nature, it's like, wow, you know. I can share the worst case I've ever experienced. One day I was riding on the metro in DC, and this guy was sitting across from me, and he was watching me. And as you can see, I have full lips. Now these lips, back in the day, I used to get teased for these full lips when I was young, because they weren't in style, in vogue as they are now. It's so funny how you know, and please don't take this the wrong way, but this is real talk. African American women have had full lips and big booties since the beginning of time. And it seemed as though they didn't get in style, full lips and big butts, until our Caucasian sisters or Latino sisters started sporting them, and then, oh, it's in vogue. We've been having booty before booty was in. I remember growing up and as a teenager, and I would hear, you know, guys say, oh no, that girl, she got a big old butt, you know, whereas it was not in style, you know, for some cultures thought that just big boobs and a flat butt was in style, you know. So, but I digress. But back to my big lips. So I was on a train, and this one man, he kept staring at me, and then he followed me. So I got off at my stop, and I was walking home, and he started following me and walking behind me and saying some of the most crass things like, I bet you could suck a blah, blah, blah with those big lips, and this and this and this with my lips. I mean, he was just fixated on my lips, and he followed me literally from, I don't know how many blocks it could have been. It was quite a few, until I got to the end of the street, where, like, at the end of the street that I usually turn down. This is when I lived with my parents too. I was much younger. And another guy saw that I looked worried, and he was like, yo, you okay? And I said, no, this guy is following me. And so that's when the other gentleman turned around and stopped. But the things he was spewing out of his mouth and saying was just so crass and nasty, you know. So I've said all that to say this: as parents, let's equip our children with the knowledge that they need to understand what sexual harassment is. We don't also want some kids to use this as a way to craft rape when it didn't happen either. You know, I've read countless stories and articles on women who have accuse men of rape when it was not rape, or when things didn't happen. So we don't want, because this is a heated, hot button topic and time right now with sexual harassment and allegations, where now girls and boys think, oh, I'm gonna get back at that teacher for giving me an F. I'm gonna say touch me, or I'm gonna. So we need to differentiate between truth and what reality and lies. But we do need to properly equip our children with what is happening in this climate and what has always happened, not just now. It's not just now, it's just darkness is being exposed. You know, darkness is finally being exposed. So look, you all be blessed. Until next time, talk to you soon. Bye-bye.